Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. It's showtime. Hello and welcome to the Friday Fantasy Show from the Bottled Imp, exploring the realms of fantasy. My name is Ken Boyter and today we're going to be looking at Beetlejuice. Yes, as it's nearly Halloween, we thought we'd take a little look at this film. This is a film directed by Tim Burton and stars Michael Keaton as the famed Beetlejuice. I say famed because this came out in 1988 and for some reason I didn't see it. I can't remember. It just passed me by. And it's so iconic, that image there. As if you've never seen the film or you're not even, if you're not massively into film, and going to the cinema, you probably would recognise that. It's just out there, it's in the zeitgeist. People know of that. And it is pretty much the role that made Michael Keaton. He then went on to do Batman afterwards. So it's an iconic film, but for some reason, I just didn't see it. It also spawned a few video games and even a cartoon that ran for 4 years, 4 series of that. Plus, there were talks in 1990 of doing a sequel called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. Oh, we missed out on that. Anyway, let's take a look at the original and see if it's any good. Beetlejuice, what exactly is it all about? What's the setup? Well, as you probably guessed from the cover, it's all to do with ghosts, I guess. That's probably on the outer surface what you think the film's going to be about, and it pretty much is. It focuses on Barbara and Adam, who are a couple. They are a loving couple. They live in quite a big house on a hill in Connecticut, and it's a small town, and they're kind of country folk. They're very honest, kind, loving people, and you instantly warm to them. They're played by Alec Baldwin, and I forget the name that plays the woman. How dare I?
That's terrible.
Gina Davis. Oh, we've got Julian's the expert. He should be doing the review. Get your ass over here. Anyway, Gina Davis, they are the loving couple, and they are very believable as the loving couple. You instantly they're not sickly, they're not over, saccharine. They're just kind of a normal loving couple that you really, you identify with and you like. You enter their world and you kind of want to hang out with them. They do feel like the sort of people that you'd like to be friends with. And the Adam, he does these little models. He has an attic, and in there he creates these little models of little houses, little trees, little hills, little graveyard, and it's all there, and that's his little pastime, that's his hobby. Now, they are on a holiday, but they've decided to take it at home, so it's a staycation, if you will. I'm not sure if I like that word, but anyway, it's a staycation. They've decided to take it home. They're just going to spend it together without any hassle. Unfortunately for them, things take a slightly weird twist. They are hassled by Jane, who is their real estate agent, or estate agent, as we would say in the UK, and they're being kind of hassled to sell their house. She constantly wants to try and sell it to people from New York, it seems. Now, what happens is Alec needs to go to his hardware shop in town and pick up a few things for his modelling. So he says to his wife, come on over, let's go. Let's just make a little trip of it. We'll go in, we'll grab the stuff and we'll come back. They do so. And unfortunately, on the way back, they have an accident. There's a little bridge that goes over a river and there's a little dog that darts out in front of the car. They swerve off the bridge and into the river. Now, at first, you're unclear whether or not they've drowned or because they come back to the house and they're all soaking wet. And then weirder things start happening because when they try to go outside, they land in this big sort of sand desert scene, and there's a big sort of creepy snake that seems to be chasing them. And they start noticing strange things like they can't see their own reflection into the mirror. So slowly and slowly they piece together that yes, they have indeed crossed over, they did die, they did drown, and they are now spirits, they are ghosts. Well, you might think, well, this is rather strange, we didn't know there was an afterlife, obviously, nobody really knows, but now they've found out. And they think, well, maybe it's not that bad because they can hang out in the house still, they're still together, and they can't leave the house, it seems, because of that horrible, terrifying monster. but maybe they can just hang out and enjoy the rest of their lives there together. You know, you've got to look at the upside. But it's not quite as simple as that, because, yes, that indeed their house does get sold to a family from New York. It's a husband and wife and also a daughter. And they move in, but they are horrible people. They are shallow and vacuous and argumentative and moany and basically snobs as well. Now, of course, Barbara and Adam, they love their house. It's all country decorated, you know, it's got all flowers on the wall, it's very delicately done. These lot, no. The wife of the new couple, she is a sculptor and she wants to totally radically redecorate, remodel the house. And of course, Barbara and Adam are horrified. So they decide that they were going to haunt them to get rid of them. What could be simpler? Well, again, it doesn't quite pan out the way they want it to, because turns out they're not very good ghosts. They can't seem to scare them at all. Now the daughter, she is a goth. She's played by Winona Ryder, very well as well. She does it brilliantly. She's a goth, she's a bit surly, but she's got a kind heart, and she seems to be the only one that can see the ghosts. No one else seems to be able to see them, and so she strikes up a friendship with them. Now what happens is, you're wondering, well, where's Beetlejuice? Where's Beetlejuice and all of that? Well, because Barbara and Adam aren't very good at scaring them away, Beetlejuice somehow magically can put adverts into reality, into their world, isn't it? Of course, so they've crossed over. Yes, so they get adverts, so they find like a newspaper cutting advertising Beetlejuice's service. And also there's an advert on the television that comes up with Beetlejuice claiming to be a bio-exorcist, which means if you've got real people that you don't like and you want to haunt, he can do the job for you. Now, there is a bureaucracy side to all of this, because meanwhile there's a door that they go through, Barbara and Adam go through, and it's bureaucracy, and they've got a caseworker. And that's quite a funny moment, because it's like, you know, you're going to claim benefit or something, so it's all bureaucracy driven. They get a caseworker eventually, and they say, no, never hire Beetlejuice. He's not a good one. So I like that dynamic where Beetlejuice is actually not liked by the spirits themselves. So you kind of know you're in for a ride. And of course, Beetlejuice does get summoned. You just have to say his name 3 times. So be careful when you do that. And he will appear. And that is the setup, basically. That it seems like a lot of setup. There is a lot of setup. That doesn't spoil the movie, because, you know, that pretty much happens fairly quickly in the film. Now, there are various themes that run through this, as you can imagine, death and dying. That, to me, is obviously the biggest theme in all of this. What happens when you really do cross over? And is it as we think it is? Now, this is obviously just one version of what it could be like. And I quite like it, because I like the fact that it's sort of like Earth, but not quite like Earth. It's like our normal lives, but not quite like our normal lives. So you've got the bureaucracy side, and of course bureaucracy can always generate humour. By the way, this is a comedy, action, fantasy, horror film. Can I put any more genres in there? I'm not sure. So I like the fact that you've got the bureaucracy side of it. So they cross over, and I like the fact that they don't know initially that they're ghosts, that they're spirits. They kind of have to work it out. There is a little handbook that they find in the attic that kind of is meant to help them, guide them through the crossing over process. And I quite like that idea of, you know, you could die, especially I guess if it's an accident, you're not ready of dying, so you wouldn't think you were going to be dying that day. Whereas I guess if you had some sort of terminal disease, that you could prepare yourself to cross over. This, if you haven't had time, yes, you might still think, you know, yeah, well, this is my house, this is where I live, and you know, especially if you can pick objects up and you can kind of still interact with the real world. So I like that idea, and it's obviously a lighter look at this sort of concept of crossing over. So not all ghosts, and I like the concept that, yeah, not all ghosts are spooky. As soon as you cross over, if you've been a nice person on Earth, it doesn't mean that you're instantly going to become morbid and start, you know, being horrible and, you know, just like a scary ghost. No, if you were a nice person in real life, you're still going to be a nice person when you cross over. Equally, if you've been a horrible person in this realm, then you're probably still going to be a horrible person in that realm. You don't suddenly see the angels and the lights and think, oh, hallelujah, I've been a bad person. That probably takes time, because you presumably have eternity to reflect on what you've how you behave towards others in this realm. So I like that idea. I do like that idea. Also, there's a little bit of snobbery here. There's a little bit of class wars going on here, because when the couple and the daughter from New York move over, the couple especially, they're one of these sort of high-flying couples. One is an estate agent. One is, as I say, was a sculptor. And they've got these pretensions, they like going to, flash parties. And they've got that sort of unkindness element to themselves, and that sort of snobbery that they're better than other people. And I love the fact that the daughter, though, isn't like them at all. And so you've got that conflict that resonates in their family. And then also you've got the fact that she is the link between the ghosts, with Barbara and Adam, and also the parents as well, who initially are non-believers, because it turns out that Winona Ryder's character actually starts saying, look, this house is haunted, and she isn't believed. So I like that fact with the class wars going on as well. So you've got that theme, and that adds to the conflict, that adds to the drama. You've also got the loner outsider aspect, and we've got that in two characters. One is, as I say, the goth daughter, and she's into photography as well. So that's a nice sort of little character touch there, because if you're being creative, something like drawing or art or photography can be very, it's a project, it's a creative activity that you would do on your own, not all the time, but predominantly you would be. So that's a good representation there. Plus, Beetlejuice is the other outsider, because he's been kind of not banished, but sort of ousted. He's not liked in his own realm now, the spirit realm, and it seems like, because he's all a bit manky, it seems like he's been there for eternity. So that is really his main home. I don't think he's going to be moving on to any higher realms, and so maybe he doesn't want to. And so you've got his loneliness that he kind of disguises with the jokes and with the sort of zany, wild persona. Now, moving on to Beetlejuice in that respect, so he is the loner because he doesn't fit in his own world, but then again, he doesn't really fit in the normal world, I should say our world, which is the same, I guess, as the daughter, although the daughter does seem to have a sensibility that she can get on in this world. She probably just chooses not to. She might feel a little bit of an outsider, so she doesn't really, she can't really connect with the people that she's surrounded by. And it's the same with Beetlejuice. Now, I found Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton does basically steal this film. He's very enigmatic in that character, he's very zany. It's like a Jim Carrey performance, I guess before Jim Carrey, I think 88, I can't remember when Jim Carrey was around, early 90s Jim Carrey. So it's that same sort of feel to it, although there's a little bit more gravitas to the performance than if Jim Carrey had done it. And I know that's not taken away from Jim Carrey, but I think with Michael Keaton, there's a bit more solidity. And the Beetlejuice character is one of these characters, a strange character, because you kind of want to like him, but then he starts doing really perverted things. He kind of leches on both Barbara and the goth daughter. And so it's slightly uncomfortable in some respects. It's meant to be funny, and it kind of is, it kind of isn't. He's a pest, he's a sort of perverted pest. It doesn't go too far in that respect. So he's an unlikable, likable character, if that can be such a thing. So, and because he's got all his zany antics, and he does agree to actually help Barbara and Adam, but there is a cost, and I'm not going to say what it is, but there is a cost to it. So he is selfish, he's out for himself. So I like the fact you've got three kind of good solid themes that run through this. So there is, ultimately it's a comedy, it relies heavily on slapstick and visual effects as well, but then the story is good, it's very solid, it's very plausible in, as far as this sort of thing goes. And I guess if you had experience of ghosts and hauntings and poltergeists, because things start moving around, you would probably say, well, actually, yeah, I can imagine if you get a glimpse into the other side from the ghost point of view, it could just be normal people, sort of polite, nice people, just having fun. It doesn't have to be necessarily malicious. So I like that idea. It's well executed, the story, and it zips along very nicely. The story there is some good unexpected twists and turns in it. And it gets a little bit dark, which I wasn't totally expecting. It is a 15 in this country, in the UK, which I thought was a little bit too high. Maybe, I don't know if they rated that back then in '88 and then it just sticks. Once it's been rated, it rates forever. They don't adjust it. Because now I would say a 10-year-old, 12-year-old would kind of be fine with it, because a lot of the CGI, a lot of the gore, if you like, and the scares, because there are meant to be a few scares in there, are they're very cartoony, and Tim Burton has gone on record to say that he wanted the special effects and all of that side of it to be like a B movie. He wanted to make it look a little bit cheaper than it kind of could have been at the time back in 1988. So it has that cartoony type of feel to it. The characters are very likeable, especially the couple. They don't overplay it. Alec Baldwin and Glenda Davis. Gina Davis. I woke him up. I woke Julian up. They're spot on with the performances, not over the top, and as I say, they're likeable. They're just kind of like a lovely, nice, kind couple that you would want to hang out with. The slapstick is handled very well for all the characters. There's a few other characters that crop in as well. And as I say, the special effects, they did a very good job to make it look slightly tacky, but even then, they have done a really good job. And they used loads of different techniques. I've got a list of them down here. They used stop motion, they did replacement animation, they did prosthetic makeup, puppetry, and blue screen, or we would know it today as green screen. So, and they apparently only spent $1 million on the special effect of a budget of 15 million. The whole film was made for 15 million. So the ratio is very surprising. They didn't spend as much as you kind of thought they would have done on the special effects. And so I reckon they got really good value for money, because back then, you know, I mean, obviously special effects and CGI has come along totally, amazingly amount, you know, in such a short space of time. So to do what they achieved, it has character, has charm, and a lot of that is to do with the puppetry and also the stop motion animation. That's very effective. The script does, it's gorgeous. It's not too, you know, it's meant to be a comedy. Now, I will say that it didn't make me laugh out loud, really, at any point, but it's an enjoyable film. I would say that, you know, it's not one of the best comedies, but the whole package is a delight to be in. You kind of want to just be in that environment. You know, you want to see what's happening. You want to see how they're going to solve the problem of, you know, are they going to manage to scare the couple and the daughter away, or is it going to be resolved in a different way? You want to know what happens. You care about it, and I think any film that does that, any script that manages to do that, is going to be a success. So it's a very tight script. There's no excess baggage here. There's no scene that you think, yeah, if they took that out, it doesn't make a difference. And the music's worth mentioning. It's Danny Elfman. Now, Danny Elfman and Tim Burton have gone on to collaborate on loads of different things as well. And I believe he also did the Simpsons theme tune. So Danny Elfman, you know, presumably this is in the start of his career as well as Tim Burton. So they work really well together. The music is noticeable in terms of it really fits the film beautifully. Very strong themes that run through it. So overall, really did enjoy it. I didn't know what to expect. I thought I would enjoy it because it seems like it'd be the type of film that I'd enjoy. And they managed to pull it off brilliantly. They managed to execute exactly what they wanted to do. And I think that, to me, if a director and the cast and the crew and everybody has a vision of kind of what they're trying to do, and then they do it, then you're probably 80% there of having a really good film. I would say, as I say, yeah, the 15, I would say, yeah, nowadays 10, 12-year-olds, I mean even slightly younger if you're watching it with them, they would enjoy this. It's got a lot of cartoony aspects to it, so the visuals aren't too scary, and I can totally understand why it's a cult classic. It did take $74 million at the box office on a budget of 15, and also Rotten Tomatoes, it has 42 reviews, 81% liking rate, which is good, and it also won a few awards for special effects and makeup, which I'm not surprised of as well, because this film does stand up to the test of time. You know, this is nearly 20 years old now, so that is a big testament to watch a film that's nearly 20 years old, because remember, films have moved on, scripts have moved on, some films have got a lot faster in terms of pacing and attention spans for audience. And it achieves that. It still manages to capture your attention. You want to know what's happening. So if they do make a sequel, I think it would work. I think it would work. So really, really enjoyed it. And if you haven't got a film that you want to watch over Halloween, I would definitely recommend Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice! I'm not going to say his name 3 times. Not again, anyway. Yes, I would totally recommend this. And what you can see, what I also meant to say was that you can really see the sort of Tim Burton style emerging. This was his second film. He did Pee Wee Herman film before that. And then he went on to do Batman. And you can really start to see that kind of gothic, quirky, sort of German expressionism influence in there. So it is a delight. And I'm really happy they made it. Didn't know what else to say. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you like what we do, we've got over 300 videos. Not all of them are reviews. We've done other things as well. Please tell your friends if you think they would like it as well. So thank you for watching. Until the next time, remember to keep it unreal, especially if you are a spooky person.